All right. Going to do a mic check here. My guest is going to be here very shortly. And much. Hold on. All right. Okay. Now that I know the mic works, my guest is going to be here shortly, and so because my guest is coming in a little late, we're going to have to do like a very brief rearranging of the camera, So, as my cousin Jan says, because I'm a professional, or something like that, because I'm so professional, whatever it is, I can't remember what it was. Something like that. I hate this. I have to open up my YouTube way large in order to be able to see the chat, and it's driving me up a frigging wall. Because YouTube sucks. I mean, I use it, because I have to, but YouTube, it does suck, Let's see, but I can actually see the chat now, so I can scroll that back up. No, I can't scroll it up too far. Anyway, so while we're waiting for my guest here, what's up, Geeky Geek? Let's see. I don't need to say that. So, anyway, so I'm waiting for my guest. So it is actually it's not too bad. It's a sunny day. I have to have the blinds shut because my window faces, my one window in my living room faces east, and then the other one faces south. So, and although granted, in the wintertime, we don't get as much more illumination coming from the south. It's starting to work that way, We've already had the shortest day of the year, in December. So it's slowly getting longer and longer. I think, what is it, March or April? End of March or April, whatever, is daylight savings time. Which, now see, here's the thing, okay. I remember having a conversation with somebody, I want to say probably a couple years ago now, one of my friends up from Canada. I know who it is. I'm trying to remember exactly what she said. I don't remember exactly what she said, but I was saying something about the fact that I didn't care for daylight savings time. I wasn't like, up in arms about it like some people are, but I didn't care for it. And I think it had something to do with either kids, waiting for the bus, because there's a lot of rural kids who live in rural areas waiting for the bus or whatever. But she had a pretty good justification for it, And so I understood that, and that's fine. So while we're at it, I always hate this because oh wow. Oh, that's weird. It actually showed really well on my camera. That's funny because of the green screen thing. Okay, so anyway, those are, which ones? Those are Thin Mints. Whoops, too high. Those are Thin Mints. Okay, I think it's because if I go up to the background, yeah, okay. So those are Thin Mints, Girl Scout cookies. Yay! And then you gotta have these. These are the Caramel Delights, okay? I couldn't remember what the name of them was, so I told the person that I was getting them from. They are the brain fart, cookies with the flat chocolate on one side, the hole in the middle, flat chocolate on one side, on the other side stripes, and then I love coconut. So, in fact, let me check my phone here because I asked them to send me a text. Well, I guess I'll have to do it later. I'll put it in the pin post. But so what you can do is you can buy these cookies online, okay? And they have I was going to say international. I guess they do international, but at least in the U.S., okay, you can go to girlscouts.com or whatever, okay, and buy the cookies online. But if you know that particular scouts, they have a number, or maybe it's their name or whatever, I can't remember. You can buy them online, but credit them with the actual purchase, okay? And so then their local troop gets, I don't know if they get more money or, maybe an award. I don't know, but I know it benefits them in some way, shape, or form. And so one of the people here that gives me a ride once in a while, their daughter sells Girl Scout cookies. And now I don't know, I'm sure probably most of my audience knows by now that the Girl Scouts are very supportive. Hold on a second. All right, where are you, wee bastard? There we go. The Girl Scouts are very supportive. Samoas. I like this. I mean, I like all of them. Okay, I like all of them so far that I've tried. The Girl Scouts are supportive of trans girls and trans women, and I'm not going to get into negative stuff about the Boy Scouts. I'm just going to say they don't. Okay, and there's a lot of other things too, but they don't. And so we support the Girl Scouts in return. You know, it's only fair. And here comes my guest. Yay! I can't hear you. No sound.
Not working?
There you go. There you go.
Okay, cool.
Oh, your makeup. Okay, so let me see. We need to flip the view here, though.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm sorry, but I mean, there's a few phrases that I remember a long time ago, but I'm in like let's see. Tengo 35 días en español con Duolingo. Mi promedio es 95. Mi acento es más o menos, pero mi pequeño es pero mi vocabulary is pequeño. So, you know, I'm screwing up on it a little bit, but I'm getting there. Okay, so now I'm trying to find, let's see, where is the, I don't know what's in the Samoas. I just remember, Joey, that they're the Samoas. So where the heck, oh, view, that's what I want. There we go. All right, you wee bastard. So, you know, I have to, you know, it's my computer, so I have to swear at it. That makes it work better, right? All right, so let me get all this stuff set up here. I don't know, somebody's beeping at me, whatever. Give me a second here. All right, so let me go to my OBS. Where the heck is my OBS? OBS. We don't need this anymore. Why the heck is that not? You know what? You about to piss me right the fuck off. All right. There. Did that work? No. You know what? I will shut you down. One way or t'other. All right. Where's Vivaldi, you wee bastard? Why is it not showing? There it is. Go away. Click. You're gone. You're gone. So let me make sure that this is working. Yeah, I mean it's not showing you fully or me fully, so I'm gonna fix that right now. Go to here. La da dee da da dee. We all live in a condom factory. Okay. And there is Chris. And there's me ugly mug. I'm going to get into the background that I've chosen a little bit, very briefly, and then I will introduce my guest. And a lot of you already know him. I will introduce my guest, and then we will get this shit on the road. All right. So, first of all, because St. Patrick's Day is coming up. Okay, so first of all, fuck St. Patrick. All right. He wasn't Irish. He was English, Romanish, English, whatever. Okay, he wasn't fucking Irish. Number one. Number two, it's a fun myth of him. You know, the original claim was, you know, he drove the snakes out of Ireland and the snakes meant the pagans. No, that didn't happen. I mean, he was definitely anti-pagan, but that didn't happen. So, but it's a myth, you know. And I don't usually, you know, fuss against it, but I did, of course, buy my corned beef. Okay. Because, what is his name? My favorite comedian, Darryl O'Brien, was talking about, you know, he has quit doing religion in his concerts. But at the time he was. And he was talking about, you know, being Catholic, whatever. And he said, you know, of course, you know, you're Irish and everybody expects you to be Catholic. He said, I'm an atheist, but still Catholic. So, so I have my little design that I made. It says, "Hey, St. Patrick, you fucker, you missed one." And the snake and the, you know, the pentagram, whatever. And then The one on the left is, she goes by many different names. As you know, I'm a Celtic pagan, and that is, she's called the Mergen. There's a couple other names in Guelga, but usually most people know her by the Morgan or the Morgu, which is what I use. She is, some of the Irish gods are a lot of like the classic pagan gods that neo-pagans nowadays, where they're not too bad, and they're kind of nice, and that's cool. But not all of them are like that. Like Queen Maeve, which is where I took part of my name from, got into a discussion one night in pillow talk with her husband, and they were bragging to each other about who had more stuff, who had more yeomen, who had more women, who had more cows, whatever. And then her husband trumped her, and he's like, "I got a white bull. You don't have a white bull." He's like, "Shit, I don't have a white bull." So she hired some people to steal his white bull, without pretending that she had nothing to do with it. Okay, so he sent some of his men to get the white bull back. In the meantime, they had killed the bull. Okay, to get the white bull back, that didn't work. Obviously, the bull is dead. And so there's a big fight between her clan and their clan. And she was pissed off because the queen of that clan killed the bull, so she killed her kid. Don't fuck with the Irish, okay? I'm sorry, but when I say we'll send the boyos around with the sports equipment, we're talking things that you can play baseball with. Anyway, so let me Minnie Mouse this because I don't need this right away. Get this out of my attention. All right, and we're gonna move this. We're gonna get that out. So let me make sure that everything is working right, and we'll get this show on the road. Yep, that's working right. And say something, Chris, so I know that everybody can hear you.
I hope everybody can hear me.
Okay, that'll work. All right, so let me get. Where are you? I have way too many friggin' browsers, I tell you. There we go. Okay, because I have this one. It's got just YouTube on it, and that's it. All my other browsers have like, 10, 15 tabs pinned, and this one has just this. So, and we were talking about Girl Scout cookies. So, I got these, Chris. These are the, what the heck is the name? The Caramel Delights. I have
Girl Scout season already?
What's that?
Is it Girl Scout season already?
Yes. Okay, so they have the chocolate all on one side, they got hole in the middle, chocolate on one side, they got stripes in the and they have coconut. I love coconut. Okay. And then, of course, everybody has to have these Thin Mints. All right. And like I said earlier, there is a national website you can go to, a link, which I will find. I can't find it at the moment, and I'm going to worry about right now. But so somebody that I occasionally get rights from, their daughter sells these cookies. And when you can buy these online, okay, it doesn't have to be like, just from your local Girl Scout, troop, although you can support those too. But if you buy these online, hint, hint, for my local Girl Scout, okay, there is a spot where you can, I don't think it's her individually, but you can designate it coming from her troop, okay. And then they get some sort of benefit. I don't know whether it's money or it's an award or kudos or peanuts or whatever it is. I don't know, but they get something. Okay, so let's see. Joey says I like the ones with coconut. Geek says my area, the caramel chocolate coconut Girl Scout cookies are called Samoas. Okay. Now the areas are called. Cause see, I think that's what I remember their name as, but I couldn't remember it at the time when I was asking them. Joey says I also like the ones with peanut butter. I don't like peanut butter crackers. I don't like peanut butter anything except for I love peanut butter sandwiches. Excuse me, and homemade peanut butter cookies. I tried peanut sauce once. I'd rather eat lima beans, and you know how much I hate lima beans. Yeah. Okay. I'd almost rather eat chitlins. Almost. I tried them once, which is 5 times too many. Okay.
I think anything is better than chitlins. Right. So
I remember walking into my sister's house because she makes them every year for her family, a couple times a year. Okay. I remember walking to my sister's house and I literally went, "Did something die under your porch?" You know, it's right. It's summertime, and she goes, no, why? I said, what the hell is that smell? She said, it's chitlins. I'm cooking chitlins. You want to give it a try? I said, okay, whatever. You know, no, hell no. Okay.
Like shitlins. Oh my god.
Yeah, exactly. So, let's get this show on the road. I am the Angry Wrench. I'm a very mouthy, excuse me, lefty, activist, minor activist. You know, I get a few people here and there. I used to have a page on YouTube. On Facebook, I don't have it anymore. I try to do Facebook as little as possible. I do have an account on Blue Sky for it, and I'm like, I think, one shy of 4,000 followers, which is kind of cool. Imagine if they all showed up to this chat, you know, it would be like, you know, spin the wheel. Okay, there's no way I could keep track of it. But I cover a lot of issues. I try to focus on different marginalized groups, but sometimes, you know, it's disability in America, or it's healthcare in America, which affects everybody. You know, with little Mr. Luigi, okay, and his little activities, you know, that he had. I remember hearing within the last week that there was some CEO, healthcare CEO in California who had their house shot at. So, shucky darns.
Yeah, he had his house. I can't remember his name, but yeah, he had his house shot at.
Well, no one read me of this meddlesome priest. Anyway, so, you know, so I covered a lot of issues. I've covered gun control. I've covered the death of Tyree Nichols. You know, but especially the last year or so, you know, as we lean closer and closer to this fascist hellscape, there's a lot of more political issues. But also, as Chris can attest when we get into this, our mere existence is political. And, you know, without us having said anything, without us having done anything, just the fact that we are alive is political. So that's me. I'm a boomer. I am a trans woman. I am an omnisexual trans woman, Celtic pagan, and all-around mouthy bitch. Okay, and by the way, it won't be every other word, but, you know, there will occasionally come a fuck or a twat or a shit sucker or whatever on this channel. So if random profanity is not your thing, not a problem. Okay, go find a channel somewhere else, but I ain't changing. All right, so I'm going to introduce my guest. First of all, I want to say I love him. He's an awesome person. I've known you for 11 years now.
About, I think so. Maybe a little bit longer.
Yeah, you know, 11 years seems like 100, and it seems like 101 at the same time. Okay. Chris is my nephew. That's what I call him. Okay. We are not blood related, but it won't have to be blood related for that. You know, chosen family is just as good as blood family, or like I like to say, family is not who you share blood with. Family is who you share life with. I've known Chris for a long time. He is a phenomenal person, and he's not my only one, but he's my favorite nephew. So, Chris, if you want to give us your pronouns and tell us whatever you want to tell us about yourself.
Hi, my name's Chris. I am a gender non-conforming homosexual from California. Pronouns are he, they. But honestly, I don't care what you call me, as long as you call me pretty. I am of unmentionable age because I am insecure about how old I am.
Ain't none of your business. Okay, if he wants to tell you, he'll tell you.
No, you don't need to know. It's fine. It's somewhere in, you know, in the annals of the Necronomicon. It's there somewhere. So.
Another reason I like Chris is the fact that he's intelligent, and he and I get each other's references. Plus, he also plays D&D. So.
We just had a match, a D&D match, like last week before last.
Right.
So yeah.
Oh, speaking of.
Yeah, so that's about it.
Okay. Speaking of which, I've already asked one of the people in the chat. They can mention themselves. If not, that's fine too. There is a group that meets 6 o'clock Pacific time. Okay. On Discord. A friend of mine runs a company that she started. They do radio plays. Okay. Like the Shadow Knows and whatever, you know, 40s and 50s, 30s, 40s, and 50s radio plays. That style of stuff. And so every Wednesday at 6 and every Sunday at 6 your time, they do cold reads. So they'll just, put the thing up on the screen in Discord. They'll send you a PDF or whatever. You pick a character, and then we just read it.
Oh, that's cool.
And so this last one, my friend assigned me the part of Maggie, who is a older, as in like older than me. She's in the hospital because she had a little heart problem, but her family wants to send her to a nursing home, and she can't stand all of her family except for her grandson Kev, who she calls a fucking bastard, but she actually loves him to death. He likes her, and also Satan shows up, and death shows up, and a few other things, and then there's some domestic violence involved and whatever. But it's still a comedy. I guess you could call it a dramedy. To some extent, there's a little bit of drama, but the boils are called out, so that's cool. But anyway, so if you're ever interested in doing something like that, they ain't no money involved, whatever. You can just show up to Discord, and you can even just show up to Discord and just listen in and see what it's like before you decide if you want to join in or not. Okay, so you are married.
Yeah, yes, I am.
Okay. I'm not going to mention your spouse's name unless you want to, but from what I know, your spouse, I don't think I've ever really messaged him or talked to him directly. But
is a recluse, so
right. He's not a Luddite, but so from what I know of him, seems like a pretty cool guy. And because if he isn't, I'm gonna send the boils out after him. Don't fuck with my family. But anyway, so I was gonna get a bunch of links and whatever, and I thought, fuck it. You know a lot of it, and you've had a lot of history with it. I know a lot of it, and I had a lot of history with it. So what we're going to be talking about today is bigotry within the queer community. Okay.
Oh, Lord, yeah.
Okay, so that includes racism, ableism, classism, what's the word I'm looking for? Well, classism, okay, poor versus rich, whatever. All sorts of stuff. So I'll start with something, and then, when I shut my mouth, you can go on with something. So for a long time, trans people, there are trans men that exist, by the way, and trans non-binary. Okay, I know a lot of people go, oh my god, what, really? Yeah, because they're not in your porn stash. But anyway, don't even get me started, because I'm a retired sex worker. Okay, whore, prostitute, hooker, whatever you want to call it, and a lot of men will say all kinds of mean, nasty shit, fronting, in public. And then, in DMs, they're like, they're asking me how much my rates were, and whatever. Okay. But, forgot where the fuck I was going with this. Don't be laughing at me, damn it. It ain't gonna be Geek says misogyny too. It ain't gonna be the first time either. I was talking about, the HRC, which I hated for a long time. Okay, because all right, Geek, thanks for showing up. They even had some HRC lower staff, members, officers, whatever, in the organization. This was like in the 80s, 90s, whatever. Maybe it's late 90s. Okay, in some of the parades, berate trans women just for being trans women and trying to be in the parades, and some of them got recorded. Okay, and so what pissed a lot of us off was that this would happen, and yet every year, we can't. I'll explain what ENDA is, but we can't get you into ENDA this year. But if you give us enough money, maybe next year. And so finally we said, fuck it, we're not doing it. Okay, ENDA is Equity and Equality Non-Discrimination Act. Okay, so it's basically, oh my God, it's DEI, it's woke, whatever. And so, they were using this money to politically advocate for it, lobbyists, lobbying, whatever. But they wouldn't add us to it for a long time, and we just got tired of the shit. Okay. There's still a lot of bigotry against trans women specifically in the drag queen community. And don't even get me started on RuPaul. There is. Why are you laughing at me again? And But and it has become better, somewhat better. Okay, don't get me wrong. It is a little bit better. But there was a lot of that at that time, and then when you add on to that fact, um, what's up, Beastie Beast? Says Beast says I've been lurking. Was tempted to say something when you brought up my favorite Girl Scout cookies. Yeah, I haven't touched them yet. Okay, I'm pushing back temptation. Okay, because I wanted to eat them, before the show, and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna save myself. I'm gonna save them. Well, I'm gonna save them. But there's a lot of racism in the uh, drag queen community, not just against trans women, although it's huge, but also against gay men. Gay, and not just drag queens. Okay, but gay, cis men, whether drag queens or not. Okay, there's a lot of racism there involved in how they treat non-white individuals in the queer community. Let alone, because in a little later we'll get into neurodivergence. But so obviously, because my ass is white, you can tell. Okay, I have stop laughing at me. I call it. I made a list for what my favorite. By the way, I'm gonna give a shout out. One of my absolute favorite people on Facebook. She is a cosplayer called Onkey, one word, Onkey, cosplayer. Okay, cosplay. Excuse me. Phenomenal cosplay. Great person. And she's also suffered a lot of racism and whatever. But so I made a list because a lot of the black content creators were getting shadow banned. Or even just dinged right out because of using the word white. Oh my God, I can't use the word white. Until they changed it so that they're no longer going to do this goes against our community standards, which it never did for us anyway. But they're going to do fact checkers. Okay, so every once in a while, 2-3 times a week, I will post a meme, something along the lines of there's a rumor going around that Mark Zuckerberg fucks sheep. Okay. You're going to get that way? I'm going to get that way, okay? And I will bring it. So,
I believe Mark Zuckerberg fucks sheep.
Yeah, But so, there's a lot of that racism involved in there. And then you look at the disparities between white trans women, like me, and black trans women. Or MMIW, Native American trans women, okay, and if I were driving, I don't drive anymore, but if I were driving and I got pulled over by the cops, okay, yeah, I'm gonna be freaked out because I'm trans, okay, but I'm not gonna be freaked out because I'm trans and black, or I'm trans and Latina, whatever, okay, so that's an added level there. I personally have experience coming from the queer community, okay. Especially from some lesbians, and again, I'm hashtag not all lesbians because I'm lesbian myself. But where I even had a friend, so-called at the time, we had a falling out later, but for different reasons. But told me, well, are you sure? Are you sure you're not just a gay drag queen or a femme? Gay man or whatever. I'm like, no, because I thought that when I first came out, I thought I was a gay man who was a crossdresser. And so a friend of mine one time, about 15 years ago, we were talking about it, and she said, so let me ask you a question. It's kind of personal. I said, okay. She said, do you get any sort of sexual thrill or anything out of wearing women's clothes? I said, no, they're clothes. And she's like, oh, then you're transgender. Okay, what the fuck is that? And that's when it started, because I had no clue. Okay, I mean, I knew what a drag queen was and whatever, but a lot of people who are not in the community use those terms interchangeably, drag queen and trans people. So, let's get started with you. If you want to, you can give a little bit of background on how you grew up or whatever, but then I'd like to know maybe what was your first experience with racism in the queer community?
I grew up in a very Southern Baptist African American family. Same.
Not because they're African American.
And
Southern Baptist.
I'd always been a little, in every meaning of the word queer, even as a kid. So, no one was really surprised when I came out the closet. Um, and honestly, I thought like getting into the gay community that I was going to like, it was going to be this, oh, we're all suffering, kind of, we're all going through this, that, and everything. Being black and femme in the gay community, oh my God. The Even when it just comes to, sex work to a certain degree, they're being feminine. I have to be 10 times more girly and feminine than my white counterparts. I have to be, you know, 10 times more of this, 10 times more of that. And there's still a certain level of objectification and fetishization that I have to deal with that, other people don't necessarily have to deal with. Being black and feminine, and I'm always put in like the dominating role and the, oh, I want you to do this to me, or I want you to
Oh,
treat me like that. I'm like, who said I was gonna do all that? Do I look like a dominatrix to
right,
you?
right.
Um,
I'm 6'1" and I lost a good amount of weight, but I'll tell you this much. I still not as far down as I want to be, but I was over 300 pounds at one point. Okay, and you would not believe how, because I'm on FetLife. Okay, and I still get a lot of and from trans women too. Okay, not just cis men, but from trans women. DMs that like right off the gate. Before you hide or whatever. Will you be my mommy? No, motherfucker. Number one, okay.
no,
Number two, maybe if you paid me, okay, maybe. Um, but
pay
also,
me, and then we can have this conversation,
right, I ain't doing shit for free, okay. And
right?
then also, I am, when not being paid, because I have talked before. It's not easy for me to do it, but I have done it. I'm a 100% bottom through and through. Um, that's why I wear this. Okay, I'm locked and collared. Um, so I didn't mean to interrupt you. I'm sorry about that. But so, is there anything that you can kind of specifically point to, experience-wise, that you want to tell us about how it first changed your viewpoint of what you thought it was going to be versus what it was?
Um, the first time I went out, out to like a club as a gay man, um, we have a local bar here in town called Casablanca. Of course, it's called Casablanca.
You know, hello.
um, and it's a very mixed crowd. But the first time I went out, I was 21. I had just turned 21, and my aunt here, who is a trans woman as well, was like, "No, we're gonna take you out. You're gonna go out and have a good time." And blah 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 blah. And I had a very good time, but the the cliquish nature is what got to me, of the gay community is what got to me. And then I wanted to be in the our local chapter of Gay Straight Alliance and all of the other stuff. And I went to a couple meetings, and I first of all I realized there were very very few people of color, in these settings. And then second of all, I noticed that speaking up and talking about these issues and stuff like that, it was very much, oh, well, that's not the focus of what we're talking about. We're talking about, this, and this. I'm like, okay, no, and I understand that. But, as a black person, as a person of color, these are some things that we could possibly do to talk to other people and, other gay people or, people of color in the community. And it was just right over the head. There was no level of willingness to have a a conversation about that, because there's that ideology that, well, I'm gay and I'm white, so I'm just as oppressed as you are. No, no, different kinds of oppression, different levels of oppression.
And we're not
But
doing the oppression Olympics, okay?
yeah, we're
But
not doing the Depression Olympics,
you have to
but
acknowledge,
you
reality.
know, like that's not what we're doing. But being black on top of that, being a person of color on top of all of that, adds an extra like level of hardship to it. And especially in the town, the city that I'm currently living in, being gay here is not easy. Now, yeah, I fully acknowledge that California in and of itself is kind of like a microcosm when it comes to rights and stuff like that. I have friends all over, the United States, and I understand that I have a certain privilege living in California that a lot of my other, LGBTQIA friends do not get living in certain areas. When people say California is like a dreamland, it's true. We don't have, there's certain things I don't have to face. But there is still, in this little town, this little city that I'm in, we're kind of like the last notch in the Bible Belt here in California, which is funny because the Bible Belt is over in the South.
Right.
But we have a very, kind of redneck, kind of Republican.
Orange County? Orange County?
No, not Orange County.
I mean, that bad, from what I hear.
We're a little bit worse than Orange County.
Yeah.
It's just on a smaller. We're a smaller city. Bristol is a smaller city,
Okay.
so we don't get as much publicity. And when we do get publicity, it's Florida man stuff. So it's that's the only time people realize about Bakersfield is when it's Florida man stuff. But it's difficult being gay here and then being a person of color on top of that. And there's really no group, no organization, there's no community here, because a lot of it is, even if you do find other gay people of color, there's that kind of like underlying competitiveness that comes with it, because you're competing. It's always, everything's a competition. Everything is,
right.
I gotta be better than this bitch. I gotta be better than that bitch. She not giving it like she thinks she giving it. Like, there's always this certain level of cattiness. So growing up and then like coming out and being like, I'm gay and I'm proud, and then going into community and realizing there is no fucking community.
Right.
It was crazy, and it was really like, I want to say demoralizing, because I've always been kind of a to myself person, but it was still like oh my god, like can we all just get along?
Right.
Can we all just like each other and stop? Like,
we have stuff in common that we are being oppressed for. Why are we shitting on each other?
exactly. Like, why are we shitting on each other? Why are we not having this level of togetherness that we should be having as a gay community? And I know that there's lots of other people who have had the same experience with the gay community of coming out and wanting to find that family, that tribal, tribal probably isn't the PC term, but that togetherness, that group consciousness, that community. And I know that for especially a lot of black queers, there's not really all of that specifically here. LA might be different, Orange County might be different, other parts of California might be different. But I know, as far as my experience where I live, it's non-existent. There's not.
I do find, well, for me personally, okay, my boyfriend and I, at the time, lived in, and I always love it when I would tell people here, because I'm back in my hometown, and I would tell people here that I lived in the Spanish section of Koreatown, okay?
Mm-hmm.
People from California, from LA, have that exact reaction, like, oh yeah, okay. People here are like, what? Well, I know people, I used to work at Walmart, okay? I retired a couple years ago. And I know people, and some of them I don't fault for that because they've kind of outgrown it, I guess you could call it. But I know people here who never left the county in their life, let alone the state, let alone, anywhere else, okay? I also, if I had the money, I would move to California, and I still would, okay? If I had the ability and whatever, I'd move to California.
I mean, it's expensive, but it's
right. But it's also it's also the fifth largest economy in the world. Okay, not just in the States, in the world. It's the fifth largest economy. Okay, and I remember years ago, I was talking to one of my friends, at work when I worked at the nursing home. So this is in like the late 90s. And I kind of caught the expression out of the corner of my eye where, we were talking, three women, and we're talking about dating, right? And I said something, and I wasn't completely out yet. Okay, I was out as a gay male. And I said something about that, and, or about not being, not having anybody to date, my dating pool being small, okay? And the one woman either said something or mouthed something to the other, about, that I was gay or whatever, okay? And she said, well, you could always move to Grand Rapids, because that's the thing, because Grand Rapids has a pretty large, for its town, thriving, again, it's still got the racism problems and whatever, but a thriving gay community. Detroit has, with all the suburbs and whatever around there, okay, Detroit Metro has about 1.2 million people, okay. Grand Rapids is the second largest city in Michigan, and with the Grand Rapids urban area or whatever, it has about 500,000 people. So it's pretty good size, all right. And so there's that whole thing there. Well, you got to move to California if you're queer, okay. Even from the straight people, right? They're like, oh, you should move to California. And believe me, there's many times, I still do, but there's been many times I'm like, I should move to California. But like we've been talking about, it's it ain't all puppies and rainbow parts. And the first time that I realized that it wasn't like that for us, what the impression was outside. Okay, I'd come out, and I was talking to, actually, it was after I came out as a quote-unquote gay male. I came out as trans, and I came out at work. I was the first one to come out at work at Wally World. That's back when they had DEI, and I came out, and it was, I remember somebody else at work, because we all knew, for the people who were queer that worked there, we all knew each other. Okay.
We find each other,
right,
without fail.
Exactly, and because my gaydar is like 99.9% accurate, and lesbian is a little less, maybe about 90. Okay, but I was talking to a friend of mine who's gay, and I said something about some new person who was gay, okay, and very obviously gay, like more flaming than RuPaul and Richard Simmons put together, okay. And granted, it may be a stereotype, but my gaydar was like ding, 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 okay. And I mentioned something about, coming out as trans, whatever, and they said, well, don't do it to Paul. That's not his real name, but don't do Paul. And I said, why? Because he hates trans women. Excuse me? And I never didn't really dig into why. I didn't care, but he was kind of, because it was kind of, if you want to spread something around at Walmart, all you got to do is tell one person. It doesn't matter who it is. I don't care how much they claim they're closed mouth, that shit's going to go around, okay? And like it's faster than light speed. So it was he already had heard from somebody whatever that I was trans, and although he never was overtly calling me names or nasty or whatever, it was very clear that he didn't like me from the get-go, and I'd never done anything to him at all. He was a new person, whatever, and because I'd come from third shift to second shift, he was a new person, whatever. I will relate one positive story, and this is back when they had DEI, but my, and if I were physically capable of doing it, which I'm not anymore, my arthritis is increasing, whatever, but if I were capable of going back to work, I had a boss named Kevin. Just a second, I'll get to you, Beast. I had a boss named Kevin who always had my back. Okay. Now, like if he thought I was going slow or whatever, he would chew my ass out. Okay. But he always had my back for everything else. And he called me in the office one time. And when you get called in the office to Walmart and there's more than one supervisor, something's up. Okay. And at this point, I've been working with him, for him, whatever, for 4 years. Okay. And we got along great normally, except when he was pissy. Because his wife wouldn't give him any. But anyway, so I told him that one time when he was in a good mood, and he laughed too. I also called him Alfred E. Newman, because that's what he looked like. From the kid from the Mad magazine. He said he got called that in school, and I was like, oh shit, I was just joking. But anyway, so he called me in the office, and then there was 2 sub-managers in there. And You know, you could tell in my face. And he said, "Have a seat." And as I'm sitting down, he says, "By the way, you're not in trouble." I'm like, "Okay." And he said, I had heard about this. One of the maintenance, I worked on a maintenance crew. One of the maintenance people was gay, and his partner had died. Okay. So this other man put my name in his mouth, and he's running his mouth about how, because I went by Aaron then. The other guy's name was Roy. The guy's name was Roy, and he said, "Well, now that Mike has died," meaning Roy's partner, I wonder if Roy and Aaron are going to get together. So, you know, my best friend was telling me this, you know, to let me know, you know, the shit, you know, this asshole. I didn't like him to begin with, okay, I was like, "Why the fuck is he talking about me?" And he said, "Well, you know, the guy's name is Randy. You know how Randy is." I said, "Okay." So Kevin's, you know, telling me, you know, that, you know, we heard that, you know, you had been told all this stuff, okay? And I said, "Yeah." And he said, "Who told you?" And I wasn't going to lie about it, you know, because I trusted him enough not to shit on the person who told me, and he didn't, okay? And I said, "Al," and who was my best friend and still is, and he said, "Yeah, he told us." I said, "Okay." He said, "Don't worry about it." He said, "I'll take care of it. Go back to work." I was like, "Okay." So I went back to work. A lot of people had my back there. So I went back to work, and then I transferred a month or so later to second shift. So one of my really good friends, her name is Lisa. Shout out to Lisa, although I know she doesn't watch this show, but she's awesome. So she was working third shift, and you get an hour for lunch at Walmart. Okay, so she came in, sat down. Let's say it was 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock. Okay, so she came in and sat down. He had come in and sat down like maybe 5 or 10 minutes earlier than that. So he was going to leave a little bit earlier there. He's sitting not like right next to her, but like a table, say 8 feet away, and he's talking to a couple other people, whoever it was. Probably the twin bitches is what I used to call them, not to their face, because I get in trouble. But you know, he's calling me the F slur, F this and F that, and I don't know why he needs to use the women's bathroom and on and on. And I'm just running his mouth. Okay. So Lisa didn't say anything. She just went on eating her lunch. You know, she's reading a book, eating her lunch, or whatever. Okay. So he gets up and he leaves. Well, after we get done eating lunch, usually at 3, that's when the supervisors eat lunch, because they know most of us are done eating. You know, they can sit and, you know, and of course they're still, if there's a problem, we can go in there and interrupt her lunch or whatever. So after about 10, 15 minutes, she got done with her lunch. She punched out. She went and knocked on the door. We call it the ad office. Went and knocked on the door. They told her to come in. And she walked in and she said, "I got a problem." And Kevin said, "What?" Kevin was one of them. Said, "What's that?" And she said, "Well, look, here's the thing. You can take care of it, or I can call corporate and they'll take care of it." So she told him what Randy had said, and Kevin's like, "I'll take care of it." So that night, Walmart does this too. If they're going to fire you, they don't fire you at the beginning of the shift. Oh no, they wait until like the last half hour, okay, to get as much work out of you as you can. And they walked him back and they fired his ass. I knew nothing about this. I was, you know, because it was, you know, I was working different shift or whatever, so I happened to come in, happened to stay late one day when I was working the 10 to 8 shift. And they had come in early, because sometimes they do that if they get big trucks. So I see her, you know, and she's in an ice cream aisle, so we're yakking while she's working or whatever, and I don't want to bother her too much. And I said something about seeing Randy that day, and he dead named me, okay. But then he's like, "Oh, oops, Aaron." Okay, whatever, motherfucker. You know, and, because I was at work, okay, he wasn't, so, you know, I couldn't go off on him like I wanted to. But she said, "Well, you know, he's not working here anymore. And I said, no, I didn't, thinking that was it. And then she told me this whole story. I'm like, good, fuck that motherfucker. So, having said all that bullshit, okay, is there anything that you want to relate to us about where you had, maybe not an exact situation like mine, but something either based on the fact that you're femme, or based on the fact that you're black, that someone stuck up for you?
When I was in high school, I was in drama. This is the closest thing I can remember. Of course I was.
Right, exactly. Same.
I was in theater, and we were doing a play for the whole school. And I remember being on stage to go say my lines, and I hear in the, you know, the darkened theater, the F slur, very loud, Um, and I completely blanked on my lines because it. You would think having been called that majority of my life, it wouldn't have had an effect on me, but I guess in that situation, it just I blanked. And the next thing I know, a fight breaks out in the theater in the crowd
Okay.
because like four of my friends who were kind of the rough and tumble kids, trailer park kids and stuff like that, had heard the word and saw me pause on stage, and the next thing I know, somebody had launched themselves at somebody else in the theater.
Right.
And because high school fights don't just involve like two people.
Right. Yeah.
So next thing I know, the teachers are trying to break up a fight. The lights go on. Group of kids that I know is beating up this group of other kids, and I'm being taken off stage. And then I had to go to the office.
Right.
Because apparently I was responsible because they knew me, and apparently my pause on stage was seen as an indication for
Or
violence.
a signal. Go kick their ass.
Yeah. But my friends were like, no, Chris didn't tell us nothing. We heard somebody call him out his name, and we were not going to tolerate it.
Right.
And so they all got expelled. But for about like 2 months, they'd wait beginning of school at the gate, end of school at the gate. And they'd be like, if anybody's going to fuck with you,
Right.
we're not going to, we can't do nothing on campus, but the moment they step off campus,
Right.
oh, it's on and cracking. I was like, y'all need to go home. Please go home.
Calm down a little bit. I remember reading within the last 24, 48 hours, there was a play where, and it was a straight guy, okay, but there was a play where the character was gay, okay, and there was an audience member who was like near the front, okay, and was shouting out, he was catcalling women or whatever, and shouting out a bunch of homophobic slurs. And finally, the guy playing the main character stopped, and he's like, what did you say? And the guy said it again, and he said, you need to stop that. And the guy said, what are you going to do about it? He jumped down in the audience and started beating the shit out of him. That's what I'm going to do about it. Okay?
This ideology that trans women, trans men, gay men, especially when we're more on the feminine side, that we're weak, it has always like baffled me, because I'm still a man. I will still fuck you up.
Right.
Like, I will fight you. Like, what do you think?
Right. And then also, I'm not saying I'm badass, okay? Because I've had my ass beat before. I mean, one time I was beaten so bad, I was laying on the side of the road. Cars whizzing by, bleeding, half conscious. And, right out of the Bible, I'm not a Christian, but right out of the Bible, this couple stopped, picked me up, put me in the back of their car, put a blanket down, put me in the back of their car, took me to ER. I still was like in and out of it. Okay, took me to ER, had them come out and get me, took the blanket with me, and then just left. But at least, because they didn't want to get involved, and I understand that. Okay, and they also didn't know why, because I was like half conscious.
There's
Okay,
just somebody laying on the side of the road who's they
bleeding,
got nasty. Like,
Yeah.
Let's help this person.
Yeah. And then also, I wanted to make a comment. When you were talking about your friends, bolstering you and whatever, I'll take a lot of shit. Okay. I have friends that used to work at Walmart. They no longer do. When I still say at work, even though I haven't worked there for 2 years. I worked there for 12. But, one of them, his name is Dakota, and another one, her name is Rosalind. Okay. She's trans. He's a gay man. And they're super good friends of mine. Okay. And Dakota told me one time, because some customer, I was off work. Okay. Didn't have the vest on or nothing, so some customer started, making comments as Dakota was walking by, because Dakota's a little flaming, okay, and he's a sweetheart, absolute sweetheart. I consider him to be another nephew, okay, and I'm not afraid to open my mouth, okay, and now, like I said, I'm not a badass. All right, Jordan, have fun. Thanks for stopping by. I'm not a badass or whatever. Okay, I don't know martial arts, whatever. Okay, but when I fight, I'm not fighting to wound somebody. I'm not fighting to bruise somebody. I'm gonna fight to kill you. Because if you punch me and I slip and fall and hit my head on something, I can die. Okay, I'm there to kill you. If that means that I have to bite you, if that means that I have to take my thumbs and take your eyes out, because I can do that. Okay, and I'm not again. I'm not Jim Musker or whatever. Okay, but I'm still relatively strong. I weigh almost 300 pounds. I got to carry that shit around. Okay, So I'm not weak, and there's that stereotype of, especially for femmes, whether it's a gay femme or a trans woman or whatever. There's that stereotype of we're weak, because we're feminine. Okay, because if you look at all of the slurs, not all of them, but a lot of the slurs, excuse me, for trans women, but especially for gay men. Okay, cunt, whore, bitch, slut, whatever. Okay, are all slurs that are aimed at women. Okay, and then also all transphobia. I don't care who it is. I don't care even if it's transmasc. All transphobia is rooted in misogyny. Okay, but but my original point, because I got sidetracked, of course, was I'll take a lot of shit from me. I don't much care. Okay, but if you fuck with my friends, that's a different story. And a lot of us are like that because we know. First of all, I think it's because, in some cases, because not everybody has that sense of community. Okay, and I wish they did, but in a lot of cases, it's not like okay, I can fuck with this guy. He's like 500 pounds. He's a football player and he's gonna kick my ass. But I know all these people are gonna back me up. Okay, it's not like that. But it's where in sometimes, and I wish we all had it, that there's a case of a sense of continuity and a sense of community that as long as you don't die, whatever happens, you're gonna.
The lights just flickered. I'm like,
I was like, what? Yeah.
I'm like, hold on, what
the hell?
happened?
Yeah. That there's a sense of camaraderie. Okay. Is another way to put it. I'm ex-military, and believe me, I'm not gung ho necessarily about the military. Okay. Not everybody in the military is great, as even some people in the chat will tell you. Okay. There's racism in the military. There's religious bigotry in the military. There's queer bigotry in the military, etc. But for those who aren't, there's still a lot of camaraderie there. Okay. And I have friends that there's one in particular that I'm thinking of that I call her Jarhead. I love her to death. She's a sister of mine. Okay, we talk every day. You know who I'm talking about. We talk every day. Okay, maybe texting or whatever. Okay, but sometimes we talk. Audio chat or whatever. Like I said, there's a couple people in the chat that are like that. I remember a comment one time. I was standing in the back of Walmart. Okay, near the baler, which is where it crushes cardboard. Okay, so I got like 2 shopping carts of cardboard at the end of the shift. I'm waiting for someone else is ahead of me, and there were 2 supervisors standing there. One, his name is Bryce, he was ex-Marine, and one name is Randy, who I'm still super good friends with. I love Randy to death. He's awesome. He was ex-Army. Okay, so Army we call it flatfoot. Marines are jarheads, and I'm chair force because I was the Air Force. Okay. So we're standing there kind of ragging on each other, whatever as you do. And I asked Randy, I said, hey, Randy, why are there so many Marines? With, the ex-Marine standing right there. And Randy goes, I don't know, Aaron. Why are there so many Marines? I said, because not everybody can pass the Air Force entrance exam. And, and Bryce laughed too, because he knows I'm joking around, okay? And one of the maintenance guys happened to be walking by, and he said, hey, people, we're all on the same side. I said, Joe, don't worry about it. I said, we all know we're joking, whatever. I said, we all get along great. I said, don't worry about it. I said, besides, there's one thing that we all have in common. And he said, what's that? And I said, we're glad we're not Coast Guard. But I also told him at that time, and it is true, for, not everybody, but for a lot of us, the Coast Guard has an unofficial motto. You have to go out, you don't have to come back. And when I went into the service, again, this is still when I was in the Colt, okay, but so I still believed that there were, at least the possibility of the ideals of America um, for a lot of people. Unfortunately, at that time, like me, okay, I wasn't, I knew almost, I had some black people in my family, whatever, but they lived in another state, whatever, and so like I'd see pictures of them, and that was about it, okay. Um, but even then, even up to 10, 15 years ago, whatever, until the GOP started their bullshit, maybe a little longer ago than that. There was at least a hope in me that there was some sort of movement towards the ideals, when we passed marriage equality and whatever, and then it all went to shit. But when I went into the service and I was stationed in Germany, um, we had they call them ORIs, and they're operational readiness inspections, war games. Okay, and we also had this. I was 52nd TAC Wing, and then we also had the 656 Army Battalion headquarters were on our base. Okay, so it was Army Air Force Base, and so we would work together. Okay, to do these ORIs. And when the sirens went off, it could be 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. We never knew, and we had one once a month. So at random spots, so like it could be the last day of the month, and the next one could be the next day, or it might be 3 weeks later. We never knew. Okay, it's not like they're going to announce, like for example, because this was before the Berlin Wall fell. This is still at the end of the Cold War, because I'm old. But it wasn't like the Russians were going to say, "Hey, we're going to send the planes out at 2 o'clock on Tuesday. Are you guys busy?" Okay, so we never knew when the planes went up if it was real or if it was just a war game. Okay, and so I always want to make 2 points to people. One was that we knew if it was real and the planes went up, we weren't living through it. We were just going to be radioactive glass. The Russians knew where all of our bases. We're in Germany. Okay, there was you still got the Berlin Wall and whatever. Okay, so. The Russians knew where we were, knew how many people we had on the base, etc. Okay, and they were just going to drop a bomb. Okay, take care of the base. And the other was I like to explain to people. There's another way to explain it. So you carry a gas mask. Okay, now the gas masks are made specifically for if you're left-handed or right-handed. Okay, because it makes a difference. It'll make a difference in your survival. So when that siren goes off, okay, so the first thing you do is grab the gas mask. Okay, so I'm right-handed, so it's on my left side. Okay. And it looks like a small pack, okay, bag, I guess you could call it. And it's on a canteen belt, web belt, around your waist, and then one around your leg, okay, so for greater stability. So you grab the flap, because it's snap rivets, whatever, and you pop it open. You reach in with your right hand, and you pull out the mask, and as you do, you grab the straps, and you put it on over your head, you blow it out, and you're done, okay. 5 seconds. If you don't have that on in 5 seconds, and there's already CNS there, okay, which is chemical, nerve, gas, etc. Okay, if you don't have that on 5 seconds, you're dead. That's it. And so a lot of us still have that camaraderie. Okay, so now I'm not obviously equating all gay communities for number one, because I wish we had that camaraderie, but a lot of them have that camaraderie of being impressed and being in that that situation. So because I've been rambling and monologuing, don't be laughing at me. I'm Irish. I can't do long story short. What I see you laughing at me again on the corner of my eye. What have there been any experiences that you've had, because we've talked a little bit about the negative stuff, that you felt supported, and other than the one in high school, because that was cool. Okay, but that you felt as an older young adult. Okay, your early 20s or whatever.
I can't really pinpoint one. Like I said, my circle of here is pretty small. So I don't really hang out with a lot of other gay men.
Right.
Mainly just because there's the stigma about being feminine. There's the stigma, the black stigma, all that other stuff that comes within the gay community. Other than like maybe 2 people, I don't really have any like out gay friends. So I can't really think of anything off the top of my head where I personally experienced that level of camaraderie. I would love to,
Right.
I'd shout it from the rooftops if I could. But I can't think off the top of my head anything that I've experienced personally.
Yeah, which is it just I just look at a lot of this stuff, especially having come from the background that I did and the horrible background that I had. We're gonna, I mentioned it before in this show, so we're not gonna get into the abuse that I suffered and everything else, physical abuse. I still have scars. One of my family members can't have kids. Um, anyway, so it is. I wish, wish in one hand, shit in the other. But I wish that everybody in the community was able to share in and give that type of
Mm-hmm.
camaraderie. And it
Yeah.
just kind of boggles my mind that we don't. I mean, if I look at somebody, one of the things that bugs me, because we're still kind of on the theme of racism too, is when people say I don't see color.
I hate that saying.
Motherfucker, you lying? Okay, flat out. B says I used to be that guy too, being a vet in the military family. Yep. Um, when Joey talks about the romanticization of the military, exactly. But um, um, when there's a really good parody of it, or parody slash social satire. I think it's College Humor or Cracked, probably College Humor, and it's called I think it's called I Don't See Color. Okay, and it's this white woman, of course, and she's sitting there, and they go through all this routine, about where she says, I don't see color, because they were talking about, I think it was the Grammys or the Oscars, whatever
One of the
particular
other.
year it was, and they won a whole lot, black people
One
won
of the rich people shows.
right, and so she's like, well, I never understood that, and they're like, what do you mean? Why would you make a separation between black and white people winning Oscars? And they're like, well, because a lot of black people, Hattie McDaniel was the very first one, and a lot of people don't realize when she won it, she couldn't be there to receive it because she had to sit in a segregated section, even though she won a fucking Oscar. But and then I got into it with this bitch on Facebook like a day or so ago because she said that it was cool that that she got the Oscar and whatever. But I don't know I don't know why we're separating it. Why we're why we are why we have to celebrate the fact that it was the first one. Because motherfucker, it was the first one. Let people in a marginalized community have their representation and enjoy the fact that something like that happened to them, regardless of the community, that happened to them. Um, but I completely forgot my fucking point. Okay, so let's get stop laughing at me, damn it. So let's it's ADHD. I'm sorry, folks. But anybody who's watched my show at all ever knows. Okay, I will lose just like I did. I will lose train of thought in the mid sentence. Okay, so you've seen a lot of, and I have too, and just about everybody in chat is okay. What's up, Isaiah? You've seen a lot of commentary from different people about trans, and again, trans doesn't just include trans women. Okay, it also includes trans masks, trans non-binary, genderqueer, agender, etc. Okay, it's all in trans under that umbrella. In the last election, for some reason, even though Trump was struggling to raise money until what was it, the last month? Okay, suddenly they have so much money that they spent $215 million in anti-trans ads, more than all the rest combined. Okay, and so we have that pervasiveness in our society. I mean, it's always been there to a greater or lesser extent, but especially in this last election. I'll get to it in a second, Beast. This last election, and it's almost kind of like the racism is overshadowed by it. Like we're focusing on trans women, okay? Because again, trans men isn't in your porn stash, but we're focusing on trans women, especially white trans women, okay, because I've said this before, if you have MMIW or, you got a lot of black women, trans women turning up dead or missing or whatever, okay, they're not white and their name isn't Becky, because otherwise there would be an FBI task force, and the state jurisdictions and all kinds of crap. But, so like I said, it just, to me, I'm not black, okay, my ass is white, but it just feels like there is a deflection of focus from the racist aspects of it to focus on white trans women. Even though we're trans women and we're evil, white trans women, and of course, as well as I do, and you know better than I do that you're more evil if you're black. I mean, just that's a given, right?
It's an annoying thing, but you are right. There has been, because I think they focused on something that they could get everyone behind, as fucked up as it is. Let's not talk about racial issues, because that's a nuanced take. There's so many ins and outs, and there's so much to that. Let's focus on the trans issue, because there are black trans folks, there are white trans folks, there are Hispanic trans folks, there are all these. There's so many people who will be behind it that we don't have to focus on the racial matter. But I don't think people realize that when you shit on trans women, you try to take their rights away, you are also shitting on women in general. Because let's say you're a woman who wasn't blessed with the most feminine face or
right.
figure. Let's say you are a cisgendered woman who might be a little wide in the shoulders, a little strong in the jaw. And then especially when it comes to black women, there's been this massive thing about masculinizing black women. So it's always, whatever happens to the least of us happens to the rest of us. And I don't think people really understand that or think about that when it comes to, the trans issues and stuff like that. Because people are like, oh, well, trans women aren't women. What are they? Oh, they're delusional. How?
Right.
Do you think somebody would delusionally go through all the societal bullshit, the medical bullshit, the mental bullshit, the emotional bullshit, the familial bullshit that comes with announcing that we are trans?
The loss of income, the loss of housing, the loss of any social status whatsoever, generally, the loss of employment, the loss of health care, the loss of everything. We're being genocided against trans people in general, not just trans women, okay, but trans people in general. We're the focus, okay.
Yeah.
But we're being genocided against. Because there's been I can't even, it's not as bad as if I said, okay, can you name an incident in which a black man got shot and killed by the police? Okay. Right. Yeah. Thousands. Okay. But it's not to that extent. But there's been a lot of, like you said, there's been a lot of shoulders a little too square, or she's got really short hair, or whatever. Okay. And there's been many times that either security has been called, or the cops literally have been called 911 or whatever. And there was one relatively famous or infamous one, I want to say it was probably close to a year ago, where this woman came on Twitter and apologized. Because she, I guess whatever, because I guess her husband had recorded it or whatever, and so the video kind of went viral, okay. And security, she I'm not exactly sure how, but convinced them that she was cis. Okay, I don't know if she showed her ID or whatever it took. Okay, because I didn't watch that part of the video. And so she apologized to the woman. Okay, she didn't name her specifically. She at least had that much fucking sense. But she apologized to the woman on Twitter, and she said, I have to go now rethink this or whatever. If the woman had been trans, she wouldn't have apologized.
No, she wouldn't.
In any way, shape, or form. and again, it's not as pervasive, okay, but it feels to me very similar to when white people look to non-white people for education, like you owe us. Like if I
Oh,
come
well,
to a
how am I
black person,
supposed to learn if you don't tell me? How am I supposed to learn if you don't, we can't have a civil discourse about it?
oh
I
god,
hate,
again
that
that
doesn't,
shit.
that doesn't, on, there are so many terms that I hate, but civil discourse is one of the ones that makes me want to fight. Like, if someone, oh, well, we can have a civil discourse, you need to get away from me before I kick you. Like, that term, it is not my job as either a gay man, as a feminine individual, as a black, especially not as a black person,
Right.
to educate you about things that are literally around you every day. You want to know? You have the sum of all knowledge in your hand.
You know,
Look it up. Google
we
it.
have the biggest library in the world in history ever. Okay, you know, there's a lot of black contenters, like contenters, content creators that I follow on Facebook. Okay, um, Miss Twisted and Turned, Tipsy Auntie, Anki Cosplay, Uppity Negress Redux, um, SDF. I think it's SDF Cosplay. I can't remember. Gardening Under Influence. Okay, just a lot of them. Okay, they're not all cosplayers, but you know, a few of them are. And one of the threads that runs through there, and which I really try not to do, is they say my page ain't for education. Okay, my page is to run my page to say what I want whenever I want. Okay, and if you get some education from it, okay, that's cool. But I don't know you shit. Okay. And one of the things I love about Anki, I mean they all do it too, but one of the things I really love about Anki's page is that she says this ain't a safe place for white people. You're a guest here, okay? Um, it's not a safe place for cis people. She's queer, okay? It's not a safe. She's very trans supportive, very, 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 very trans supportive. Um, you know, and it's emotional labor that, you know, regardless of whether it's because you're black or whether it's because you're trans or you're gay or whatever, okay, that a lot of people who are in positions of privilege expect. And even people like me, okay, yes, I'm in a marginalized community for being trans, I'm in a marginalized community for being disabled, both physically and I have invisible disabilities, but, you know, I still have that privilege that you don't have. And you don't owe me any sort of education, you know, and you know, if you have problems reading me, you know, dyslexia or whatever, okay, that's fine, cool, dandy. Ask somebody else, okay? Don't go ask your black friend, all right? And if you have a black friend,
Don't tell people, don't tell others. I have a black friend. Don't say that.
right, you know,
Because
if
now
you want
either
to,
I'm looking at you and I don't think this black person exists,
right,
this imaginary Negro, I think either they don't exist or it's one of them black people.
right, or it's an acquaintance, okay?
Right?
You know,
Like,
they get along with, fine with you at work and whatever, and that's cool, you know. Yeah, but hold on a second, because B said something here that I wanted to catch. Da-da-dee, da-da-dee. Said, I got a racist white dude who's been at my job for 30 years. He's with the civil discourse bullshit, but is also the type to test people by offending. The joke is almost always blacks. Yep. Okay, so yeah, so the
people
whole...
like that.
Right. The whole civil discourse thing, as people know who've ever watched any of my shows, okay, I don't do civil discourse at all. Fuck Nazis, fuck bigots, okay. I also don't do tone policing, okay. And when I say I don't do civil discourse, a lot of people take that to mean they're kind of like, you know, well, you can say anything you want. No,
No.
okay. I don't have to accept any bigoted bullshit, and I will refuse to accept any bigoted bullshit on my show.
And I don't have to be civil with you if you say something that offends
Right.
or is insulting to me. Oh, well, we're just having a conversation. So being in college, even when I was in high school, I refused to take, what is it? Fucking, the class where you argue.
Debate.
Debate. I refused to take debate, and I definitely refused it in college because we're not going to have a civil discourse.
Right.
It's your assignment, if you are a little bit too passionate about what you're talking about, if you're a little bit too passionate with your transphobic, homophobic, racist argument, I'm going to launch across this classroom and strike you. There is no, well, it's just a discussion. No, because
Right.
when you place these things in that mindset of, oh, it's just a discussion and you shouldn't be so emotional about it. What do you mean I shouldn't be emotional about it? It directly affects me and people like me. So
Exactly.
no, I don't want to have a civil discourse
Yeah,
with
I
you.
refuse.
No, Mr. 20-something-year-old cute little white boy who's walking around my college campus asking me offensive ass fucking questions. I don't want to answer your stupid questions because if I answer them, you're going to assume I'm being emotional, and then especially being a feminine individual, you're going to try to use that against me.
Right.
And then I'm going to get angry, and then one of us is going to jail.
Right.
And one of us is going to have a conversation with a police officer, and I don't want it to be me.
Right. I
One of us
remember
is gonna have to
I had
issue somebody's parents an apology for beating the
your ass.
ever-loving crap out of their child.
Right.
I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that.
I had a class called, it was Introduction to Ethics 101, okay, and my instructor was a Buddhist, and I got along really well with him. But for an example, you know, I'm not going to use my last name, but, you know, he would call us by our last names, okay, normally. And he asked a question one time, you know, I'm sitting here like, kind of like this, you know, with my hand on my cheek, and he asked the question one time, and I went like that, and he said, "Can anybody else except my last name answer the question?" Okay, and then also we were discussing capital punishment, okay, and we don't get to pick the side, okay, but we also, you know, because it was almost like a debate class, but it was ethics, okay. So what we also do is we have to. The way we prepare for it is we pretend that we're on the other side, and they're making these points and these points and these points, and then how do we refute those or whatever, okay. So we were doing capital punishment, and we were on, I happened to be in the group that was, because he split the class into thirds, like there's this class, this half, there's this part, and then there's the jury, was the other third of the class. And so they you know, because we each took turns either explaining our side or refuting the other side or whatever. So they got to me and I was refuting the other side. And I said, I just have one question for you. How many dead men is your law worth? And they're like, what? I said, how many dead innocent men is your law worth? You want to do capital punishment for rape, you want to do capital punishment for robbery, you want to do capital punishment for pedophilia or murder or whatever. Okay, fine, cool, dandy. How many dead innocent men is your law worth? Because they have been killed and found to be, you know, innocent afterwards. And I don't mean like, you know, they got off on a technicality. DNA evidence literally proved they didn't do it. Or, you know, actual, you know, because eyewitness testimony is the worst testimony in the world, okay? But then I got told by one of the other students, a friend of mine afterwards, he said, I'm glad you're not on, he said, I'm glad you're on my side. Because if I was on the other side, he said, I wouldn't know how to answer that question. So it happened to be that he picked gay marriage as a topic. So I called him sick. I sent him an email and said I'm sick. Because I knew I might get, you know, I might not get virulent enough to, you know, like you said, launch myself, you know, depending on how they said it, you know, launch myself across the thing, okay, but you know as well as I do, people who watch my show know that when I am in a passionate moment or strongly believe in something, whether it's that or anything else, I don't care what it is, okay, I'm going to come with receipts, okay, I'm going to back up my shit, okay, and then two, you're not going to use fallacies with me, okay, because I want to give a shout out slightly to Refo and Atfo, okay. Refo and Atfo are short-term nicknames for Religious Forum and Atheist Forum, okay. Because even though I'm a Celtic pagan, I'm technically an atheist because I'm a secular one. But I spent 7 or 8 years on those two forums, discussing with atheists, discussing with religious people of all stripes. Okay, mostly Christians, but you know, and varieties of Christians, and it's a very rough and tumble forum. Okay, it's not like they don't do civil discourse there. Okay, and so over the time, I learned because wasn't really that familiar with them prior, and believe me, I got my ass handed to me a few times. Over the time, I learned about all the different fallacies, the straw man, you know, the toke fallacy, the you know, whatever. Okay, and so I learned not only what they were, and different ways that they were put forth, but how to refute them. So you come at me with a straw man, or you come at me with some sort of other deflection, I'm not going to let it go. Okay, or if I ask you a question and you want to move the goalpost, I'm not going to let it go. And so my friends used to call me a bulldog. Okay, sort of, in there, as a positive thing. Okay, and I remember one of my friends who was a Christian, who was on my Facebook list from that group. Okay, said, we always knew. And I said, what do you mean you always? Because I was arguing about something with somebody else, and he said, we always knew. And I said, what do you mean? He said, well, we always knew that if you started out the post, okay, because we did post back and forth. You started out the post with, gosh golly gee willikers, we knew somebody was getting their ass handed to them. Okay. And and the because I don't get very mad usually, I get passionate. Okay, the more passionate I get, the less I swear. Okay, so if I call you a fucking idiot or a jackass or whatever, okay, whatever, okay, but if I because okay, so I try not to dip into Ave, okay, because it's not my lane, okay, but again, I grew up with a lot of black people. I have black people in my family, and sometimes a word will slip out, okay. And so it used to be called, okay, so now it's called Cut Down Contest, okay. And it used to be called the Dozens back in the day, but prior to that, in the black communities, it used to be called Signifying. Okay, it's way back in like the late 60s, early 70s, okay. And so I'm really, 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 really good at that, just off the cuff, okay. So I will start with your mama and go down from there, all right? And I remember one time, we're getting ready to, what time is it? I don't want to run on too long here. Okay. Yeah, so we're getting ready to probably close down here in a little bit. So I remember one time I was working in a dairy farm down south, and you have poor people in the pit. Okay, I've gotten, I got my nose broke once by a cow. I got stepped on by a cow, I don't know how many times, okay. I got almost knocked out, well, when my nose got broke, I was almost knocked out by a cow. When I see my own blood, I do one of two things. I either stand there and just like go into like almost like a shock, where I don't say anything, I don't do anything, okay, or I want to kill whatever's closest to me. Either or, and I never know ahead of time, okay. So they have a fresh cow, which is they just had their calves, relatively recent. Okay, so I'm trying to hook up the milkers, and a couple times she kept kicking at me. I had rubber leg or whatever, and calm her down a little bit, until I went to hook up the milkers again. And I hooked up the front ones closest to me, and the back ones fell off. And my dumb ass reached in to hook up the back ones, and she kicked out sideways because they can do that. People don't know that, okay. And a glancing blow. If she'd have hit me directly in the nose, it would have killed me instantly. Knocked me back across the pit. It's only like 4 or 5 feet, okay? And I went down on one knee. At the same time that happened, the supervisor happened to be coming up to ask one of the people in the pit a question. And he saw me, so he started running toward me. Okay, so I got up, I stood up, and I went like that, and I had blood on my hand. And the next thing I know, I'm in the office, okay? So what he told, because I have no idea. So what he told me later was, I saw the blood, I yelled, I jumped across to the pipe stanchion, stood up on that, grabbed her by the ear, and started punching her in the side of the neck. Okay. Now, this is a 1,400-pound animal. I'm not going to hurt her at all. Okay. But it scares the shit out of her. Okay. And she's going, rrr, rrr, rrr. Okay. And so he's like, hey, what? Hey, what? Hey, what? And he goes, come in the office. I'm like, okay. Again, I'm still out of it. I mean, I'm talking and whatever, but I have no clue consciously what's going on. So I come in, I sat down, he hands me some paper towels, and I'm holding up, blood, whatever, and he could see me start to recognize that I had pain, and then I'm coming back to consciousness, right? And he goes, do you know where you are? Because, it could have been a, concussion or whatever, right? And I said, I'm in the office. And he goes, why are you in the office? And I said, no. And he said, look down at your hand. I went, the fuck? And so he's telling me all this shit, and at first I'm like, no, there ain't no way. Well, they have cameras, okay? Even though they're not supposed to, because they don't tell the people. But I knew they had cameras. So they had cameras. So he shows me this shit. And I'm like, oh, now you're not even supposed to touch the cows, okay, when you're moving them or whatever, because you get your ass fired. But he said, you know what? He said, I know you're a good worker, blah, 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 whatever. He said, and I understand the circumstances involved. He said, do you want to take off? And I was like, for what? He said, because you got your nose broke. I said, honey, this is like the 4th time I've got it broke, okay? The fifth time, excuse me. Fifth time I got it broke. Okay, give me about 10 minutes and I'll go back to work. And I did. Um, I don't remember. I don't remember why the fuck I was telling that story.
This is why I know I am not built. We built different.
Why you know what?
This is why I know I'm not built for manual labor. Because the moment a cow kicked me, I'm going home. I quit.
Right, right.
I quit. You still got no. I quit. I quit. I quit. I'm done. I helped build a house once. I stapled part of my, like the web of my thumb to a window with a staple gun. After we got it out, I said, I'm going. I'm leaving. I'm done. My dad was like, what? Where are you going? No, I'm done. I'm done.
After I left that job, I was working as a welder's helper. And so I ran an 8-pound grinder all day. Now, 8 pounds, you know, it's not a lot to weight to pick up, right? To hold it all day, and especially using it as a grinder, is a different story. So it's summertime in Oklahoma. It's like 115 degrees, okay? So I'm obviously wearing pants and a t-shirt, you know, whatever, and, you know, dying, you know, because I'm still, even though I've lived there like 3.5 years at that point, still, you know, it's above 65 degrees. It's too hot. And so I'm running this grinder, and I stood up. Well, it's an electric grinder, okay, and it's got a cord. The cord itself is only about maybe 8 inches long, and that's hooked to an extension cord. And that cord got caught in my t-shirt and ripped across my stomach, okay? Ow. It's like road rash, but really bad, okay? And then the shirt got wrapped up into the wheel of the grinder. B says, Chris, I'm done. Cut the show. What you were saying. Right. So, it ripped across my stomach, okay? Wrapped around itself, so I couldn't shut it off because it pinned the button down. So I had to stand on the cord and yank at it, and then finally cut my shirt out of it. Okay, so I set the grinder down, and I walked over to my boss's. He had like a little shack that was his office. Okay, and I only lived a block and a half from work, and his name was Jerry. And I said, Jerry, I got to go home. I'll be back in about 20 minutes. He's like, why? And I said, because like I had to run in with the grinder. He's like, what do you mean I had to run in with the grinder? And I lifted my shirt up, and he went, oh my God, what the fuck? Okay. And I said, I'm okay. Okay. I said, yeah, I'm okay. I said, I'm going to go home, put some shit on it. I'll be back in about 20 minutes. And I was. I came. Alcohol on that does not feel good, let me tell you. Okay, but you know, I wanted to.
I would imagine.
Right, I wanted to kill whatever. Okay, no, and I knew my tetanus because it's a wire grinder, so I knew my tetanus shots were up to date and whatever, right? So when I left Oklahoma, the next year, I wanted to get my W-2s. Okay, so I called my ex because we were getting along at the time. She's a QAnon Trumper now, but at the time we were getting along. And asked her, you know, to ask Jerry to send me, you know, the things. He called her back 4 times over the weekend that she'd gone to her grandparents and she didn't have like a cell phone because he thought I was coming back and he wanted to hire me back. You know.
I mean, after you watch somebody, you know, walk off, a wound like that, you'd be like, no, yeah, please come back.
Yeah, right.
Not me.
Yeah, right.
I get a splinter. No, I'm done.
Well, and because I found out later, because like it was like a month and a half, 2 months later, I put in my 2-week notice, you know, and I generally do, I don't always, but I generally do, and I walked over to his shack, and I was walking, you know, out that day from leaving work done. I said, hey Jerry, I got to talk to you a minute. He said, yeah, what's up? And I said, well, I'm leaving, I'm moving back to Michigan. I said, I wanted to put in my 2-week notice because I don't want to leave you shorthanded. He goes, okay. And that was it. Okay, so this was a Friday. So I came back the next Monday, okay, to work. And I'm telling one of my friends, he said, Jerry must have liked you working here then. And I said, why? Because everybody else in the last couple of years that they put in their 2-week notices goes, get the fuck out of here now. You know. But yeah, my ignorant ass, you know, gets wounded, you know, and I just keep on working. He's like, yeah, we'll keep you.
No, that is that older generation work set that like from my granny and came from, and like, oh, it's fine, just walk it up. No. No.
Yeah.
No, you sent me to school for a reason. No.
Right.
No.
Right. And yeah, and you know, and I'm not saying I'm invulnerable.
By a bull's horn. What? No.
Yeah.
I'm going home.
Yeah, I'm not saying I'm invulnerable or whatever, but you know, when I was in my 20s, and close to your age, I worked at a seismography job, and that's exploring for natural gas and oil with dynamite. So, we're out there, doesn't matter if it's raining, doesn't matter if it's snowing, whatever, in Michigan, we're out there. And we worked, okay, so I made $4.25 an hour, okay. And with the amount of hours that we worked, after taxes and child support, I was taking home over $1,000 paycheck. Because we would work 16 to 18 hour days, 30 to 50 days in a row.
Oh, Lord, no.
Okay. And of course, I ain't got, time other than, getting high, because I was still getting high then. It was in the 80s, early 80s. Ain't got time to do anything else except go home and get high and go to bed.
There's nothing else to do.
Right. The money was good, okay, because I was making more then than almost than I've ever done my entire life, but that's because, I was in my 20s and I was able to do that physically, I remember the second year I worked at Walmart, a lot easier job, but the second year I worked at Walmart, I was curious, and I put a app on my phone for, it was not a step counter, because those are kind of, because you're running back and forth or whatever sometimes, or, I got to do the math, and my brain doesn't do math well anymore, I must have had that screwed out of me. But anyway, so I put one of those apps on my phone that does GPS, okay, whatever, so I figured, by the time I get done with lunch, because it was like I had to do like 6,000 steps a day, okay, so by the time I get done with, near the end of maybe, second break or, close to the end of work or whatever, I'll get it done. I was done before first break. And so I switched to the GPS one, and I did it for like over a week, and stocking, okay, this is not counting lifted boxes, this is not counting open boxes or whatever, I walked between 11 to 12 miles a day in an 8-hour shift. That's what you do. And I'm not disagreeing. I understand your point. B says, to be fair, I'm in between you and Chris. I'm built for certain manual labor, loading boxes, putting parts together. Teach me how to manage. Farming, oil rigging, fuck nah. Yeah, I worked tailing on a rig for a little while. I've been welder's helper, plumber's helper, electrician's helper, seismograph, and I dug ditches in 1983. For that summer, I dug ditches for $2 an hour, because minimum wage was $3.35, and by the time you got done paying taxes on it, it was $2 an hour anyway. So fuck it,
My grandmother and my dad tried for years of my life to get me to do manual labor.
Yeah, you're like, no.
And after a while, my granny specifically, she's like, he's not gonna do it. He's not. She, at one point, when I was still looking for work, she was like, why don't you go to like one of the plants and do like the sorting for potatoes and stuff like that. I was like, why did you send me to school then?
Right. Number one.
That's all I was gonna do. Why did you send me to school?
All the different jobs that I've had and whatever over the years, okay, I started working in 75. I worked factory one time for 3 months, and I said, never fucking again. I don't care what kind of job I have to do, never again. Joey said, I used to be the same way, somewhere between Maeve and Chris too. Now that I'm aged and disabled, I'm also unable to do most manual labor. Yeah, I mean, and I've, sad to say, but I'm friends with probably still 80% of the staff at Walmart, associates at Walmart. Okay.
Not sad. I mean, you worked there for 12 years.
Right, I worked there for 12 years and got along with everybody except for the guy I was telling you about earlier, and the two individuals. They both work together, and they, pretty much all the time, and they work night shift. Okay, but other than that, I get along with everybody, and either just get enough to get along with at work, or like I probably have the night my last day of work, which was December 29th, 2022. I was working maintenance. I was working 10 o'clock in the morning to 8 o'clock at night. The last 2 hours, I just walked around and did selfies with my coworkers. What are they gonna do? Fire me? It's my last fucking day. Okay.
I mean,
I took 41 selfies with them and customers, because I had a lot of regulars, what are you doing? I said, today's my last day. What? Today's my last day. I want a picture with you. And I took 41 selfies and didn't get everybody. When I came back the next week to go shopping, I took like 20 or 30 more. So I have people on my list, and a lot of people, and I understand why, but a lot of people don't get along with a lot of managers at Walmart because they're fucking assholes. Okay. 3 of the people at Walmart that are managers are on my Facebook list.
Oh,
you know.
that's nice.
And one of them, I won't name him, but his brother is gay, and he was telling me one time a story about how I said something about asked him. It was like the first year that we had a pride here, because this year, if we have one, will be year 4. Okay, and he said, "Yeah, I'll be there." He said, "You know, my brother's gay, right?" And I said, "No, I didn't." You know, and he'd always been supportive of me anyway. Okay, and he said, "Yeah." He said, "In fact, I got in an argument with my aunt about it." And what do you mean? He said, "Well, my brother asked me to be his best man." And he was telling some other family members about it at a different function that his brother was happened not to be there. And his aunt said, "Well, I would never go." He said, "Why?" He said, "Because that's against God and da 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 da." And he said, "Well, I'm going anyway." And she said, trying like she was going to speak for the whole family. She said, "Well, if you go, ain't nobody going to talk to you." And he said, "I don't give a fuck. Fuck you. I'm going. It's my brother." And then turned around and walked away. Okay, so he's always been very supportive of me. I had I'm not going to say the amount, but it was a good amount. I was sitting in Walmart one day waiting for the taxi, and I had mentioned on Facebook that I was having some financial problems. Okay, and uh, the particular time I'm talking about, I was it was like a couple of days after that. Okay, and he walked up, and he usually didn't shake my hand. He would walk up and give me a hug. Okay, and I don't like to be touched by a lot of people, but I trusted him. Okay, and even some people that I trust, I won't hug. But so he walks up and he goes to shake my hand. And I go, okay, I went to shake his hand, and he handed me a bill that wasn't little. Okay, and I said, "What's this for?" He said, "Because I'm going to help you out." He said, "I talked to my wife, and I'm not going to name her, but I talked to my wife." He said, "And we thought, we have the money, whatever. We're going to help you out." So he did. And I said, "You can make me start crying here," And anyway, try not to. And he said, "Well, go ahead, cry." He said, "I don't give a shit." He said, "I don't care. If I'm at work or whatever, I'm still going to hug you anyway." And he gave me a hug. Yeah, he's very supportive of me and been a good friend, even though he's management. He was a friend of mine at work, And of course, I tried not to take advantage of that either. B says, digging ditches after I fucked up my back in the military. I learned the hard way. I wasn't built for that when I volunteered to help mom's family friend do some electrical stuff. And then he says to you and I are the reasons folks start sharing these stupid weak people create hard times memes, and I with that bitch, I'm an artist, not a coal miner. There you go. And this whole fucking granted those are my experiences.
Came off.
Yeah. I'm granted those are my experiences, okay, and I like to work hard. When I worked third shift, when I started to work third shift, the first 5.5 years I was in the freezer. I was the freezer person, okay. I was also known for like working in there for 40 or 50 minutes with no coat on. Ain't no wind. I got gloves on and I'm working. I'm fine. But that whole these kids nowadays, and they don't know how to work and this and that, whatever, And I grew up drinking out of a garden hose and all that other, boomer bullshit and Gen X bullshit to some extent too. Or when they say, even leaving aside spanking, just I'm going to treat my kid rough, so that they're ready for the world, whatever, because the world will fuck them over. Okay, well, I'm not saying the world won't fuck them over, but why don't you create a spot where they know they can come back and they're loved, and they're not criticized for who they are, and they're not, they're not tossed out of home because they're gay or queer, or trans or whatever, or they're not, whatever. Okay, it's your kids, and also this whole thing, well, I worked hard, so they should work hard, or, I paid student loans, so why are they getting off for free? Okay, but yet at the same time, you don't say a fucking thing about the PPP loans that the Republicans are getting, and hundreds of thousands of dollars just forgiven. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
B says, and some of us millennials try to act like we're hardcore. Yeah. So, your job, in my opinion, and a lot of people's opinions, your job is to make the world better for your kids, not make it worse. Why not try to make at least, like I said, at least a spot in the world for your kids that you can come back to. My daughters, okay, I have 2 daughters. My daughters know that we can talk to just about anything. I won't go into details. They know I do sex work. I still do it on occasion. They know I've done it, sex work, okay, and that's pretty much the level because I ain't talking to my kids about, you know, my sex life anyway, regardless of what I do.
Yeah, but
Okay,
you
that's
gotta
just
do what you have to
fucking
do to
weird.
take care of yourself
But
and keep
you know,
food on your table.
they
So,
know if one of them had to come and get a certain medical procedure, okay, they know that they can come and talk to me about it, and I'm not going to judge them no matter what they choose. You know, it's their body, it's their choice. If they have problems with their spouses, and both of them have had on occasion, you know, because ain't nobody perfect. They know they can come and they can talk to me about it. They can come and talk to me about anything. One of them has is getting over it, but had COVID. Okay, just like within the last 6 days. Got it. Was sick. Went to the doctor. The doctor's like, "Yep, you got it." And I'm like, "Oh shit!" And they're between paydays, um, um, and between them and their spouse, you know, they got kids. Okay, didn't have the money to go buy this, you know, because kids got to eat. You know, I can get sick or whatever. Kids got to eat. So I went and bought it for them. I know I had enough money, technically. Okay, and so it makes me a little short. But you know, they're my fucking kids. What am I gonna do? Tell them no? Fuck you. I just don't get people like that. You know, they go like, oh, well, you know, I had it hard, so you got to have it hard.
I've never understood people like that. You go, oh, so well, you're an adult now, so I don't have to do anything for you. Then why the fuck did you have a child?
Right.
You don't stop being a parent just because your child becomes an adult. You are a parent until death, and even beyond that.
Right. Right.
You know, so if you have it to give, why not give it? If you have it to help, why not help? I have friends who have parents like that, and I don't understand it, because even though both my grandmothers drive me crazy, if I ask them for something, I know to a certain degree, at least with one of them, they will work a way to get it to me.
Right.
You know, so it's always weird to me when people are like, oh, well, my kid asked me for this, but I said that they're an adult now. Only time you should say things like that to your children is when your children are assholes.
Right. Right. Or, you know, they're like, I want an Xbox. Okay, well, maybe for Christmas, maybe, okay, or your birthday.
Maybe.
But, you know,
Maybe.
until then.
Deserve it, maybe.
B says, or they try to make it even harder for the kids by removing all the shit they used to get ahead. Yeah, exactly. You know, and then you have, like, you know, my parents are a perfect example of what not to do. Like I talked earlier about the abuse. You know, I have physical scars as well as, you know, CPTSD and emotional scars and whatever else. You know, and there's people that I know personally that are super good friends of mine that have had it far worse than I have. You know, so you know, I'm not saying, you know, I've had the absolute worst childhood in the world or whatever. So when I see people that, you know, I would step in front of a bullet for either one of my kids and my family and friends to be, you know, because, you know, I told my daughter, one of them the other day, what I started doing, and I think it might be a good idea if anybody wants to do this for themselves, okay, not for me, for your family, whatever. I started a private YouTube channel. And so the first video I did on there was my living will, okay, and then I started with a blocks, 5-year blocks. So obviously I can't remember anything at birth, you know, because I was pretty young then. It's old Bugs Bunny jokes, but to 5 years old, because I do have some memories of when I was 2 and 3, okay, and not all of it was horrible, okay, but a lot of it was, but not all of it was. And so then from like 6 to 10, and then 11 to 15 or whatever, so that when I'm gone, because they both have the password to it, okay, so when I'm gone, they'll have that to look back on, you know. And I could write a book and whatever, you know. Well, if I didn't have ADHD, I could write a lot of books. But I could write a book, you know, and explain a lot of this stuff to them. But, you know, the old saying, a picture is worth 1,000 words, you know. So if I do the video, there's tonal inflection, there's body language, there's all kinds of stuff, you know, so they can get what I'm seeing. Subtext, okay, because they are both ADHD, but neither one is autistic, okay. So they can have a better chance than I do sometimes, because sometimes I don't recognize faces. They have a better chance than I do of getting what I'm trying to convey, okay? And it is something that I want to leave for my family, and of course I'm going to be gone, so, but I told him, you know, if you want to show it to anybody else, it's fine, and if you don't want to show anybody else, it's fine, you know, but this is meant for you too, okay? What you do with it after that is up to you. And the last point I'm going to say here is that I've told him, okay, so this is what I want for my wake, okay? we're going to get into it a little bit. This is what I want for my wake. Okay. So, first of all, I want a group of jugglers, male and female, dressed as scantily as possible to walk around the wake. Okay. Obviously, they ain't got the money for this, but it would be fun. Okay. To walk around the wake. Okay. And juggle, while music is playing. Okay. Some sort of music. I then want 2 male strippers and 2 female strippers to do a very short burlesque act. Okay. Then I want, and sue me, but then I want Sinead O'Connor, who's the impact that her and Karen Carpenter have had on me. Their music is unbelievable. There's no way I could express all of it. Especially Karen's in my earlier life, through a lot of dark times, kept me from not being here. Okay. So I want Sinead O'Connor, and I want her to do Danny Boy, like my top 3 songs. Okay. And then I want her version of it, and then I want to hear a jazzed up New Orleans version of it. Okay. And then, we ain't done yet, okay, and then I want a man to stand up and tell my family about my blowjobs. And I want a woman to stand up and tell my family about eating pussy, okay, to shock them. Okay, some of them won't be shocked. Some will be like, yeah, that's funny, it's cool, whatever, okay. But some will be like, oh my God, whatever. And that's why I'm aiming at. I told my daughters, I said, that's what I'm aiming at, okay. And then finally, obviously, if I had the money, they'd do it. If I gave them the money, or somehow they had the money, they would do this. Okay, I know my daughters. I want a couple, a man and a woman, dressed in black, with 2 black umbrellas if it's cold or whatever, dressed in black. Okay, show up to the wake, not say a word to anybody, have sad looks on their faces, and then leave without saying a word. Just to fuck with my family. Shit, I almost spilled my coffee. Just to fuck with my family. Okay. So we're getting ready to shut it down here. So is there anything you want to say to anybody? Anybody you want to shout out or whatever? Anything like that? The floor is yours.
Nah.
Okay. Joey says, my parents continue to help us grown kids in what ways they could. That's what I do with my grown kids too. Once a parent, always a parent. Yeah. First of all, I want to thank Chris for coming on. You're awesome as always. I love you.
You too.
And my life is made better for having Chris in it. Just that simple. I am on Blue Sky with my big ass mouth. Okay. I am on here with my big ass mouth. I do a writing account on Blue Sky. So on Blue Sky, it's the Angry Wrench. For this, for the account for this show, my writing account is, you can find it either by Shawana the Fae, spelled the way Shawana is, SIOBHAN, because it's Irish, so fuck you. Or the Writer's Cottage .bsky.social, okay, which is a common thing, okay. Siren says all up here in the Shah, is that how you pronounce it? SZA? The singer?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yes.
Okay, Ja Majesticity. So Mez says thank you for appearing.
Oh, SZA, yeah, he's talking about
SZA, okay. I didn't know how to pronounce it. I never heard it pronounced, so I didn't know.
It's pronounced SZA.
SZA, okay. I have a writing account there. I also have a Substack if you want to subscribe to that. It goes through email. It's free. I only do 2 stories a week. Just send an email, 2 stories, 2 emails a week, Wednesdays and Sundays. I don't want to spam your email. I don't want to send you like 30, emails a day or whatever. And I have a t-shirt shop and sticker shop, and I sell books online, whatever. All that bullshit is in the will be in the post. The links and everything will be in the post for that. Okay. I was going to talk about. Oh, and I will find the Girl Scout link. Okay, so that y'all can go to support the Girl Scouts, and even if they didn't. Even if they were kind of neutral, which they're not, but even if they're kind of neutral for trans people, I still think they do a good in the community. But then on top of that, it's like icing on the cake, that they're not bigoted, whatever. And I'm not saying that women aren't bigoted. Some women aren't bigoted. Let me tell you, okay, you get that fucking English twant in the British Isles, the author, fuck that bitch. And the LGB community, fuck them too. What was hilarious, last point, I always say that. What was hilarious was they went to court They were sued for something, I can't remember, but they went to court and they had to admit in court, under oath, that almost all of their members were heterosexual. But they're LGB. Yeah. Okay. Or Marjorie Taylor Greene, I call her Monkey Toes Green, or Lauren Boebert, and I call her Bobert, and I call her Lauren Bobblehead, you know, that she likes to reach across the aisle in front of kids in a theater where there were kids present. Okay. Or Matt Forehead Gates, or Fivehead Gates, some people call him. But anyway, so I want to. Joey says thanks for being on with Maeve, and B says warming up, Chris. So I want to thank Chris for showing up. I appreciate that dearly. I've interviewed him a couple times before. It's always great to interview him. I want to thank all the people in the chat for showing up. I want to thank all the people who've been watching this. There's still 6 people watching it. There were more when I start, in the middle or whatever. And I don't, I'm not demanding that you stay for the entire thing. You stay for however long you want, obviously, number one. But, this is a Sunday afternoon, okay? You're taking time out of your day to come and watch me, okay? Run my mouth. So I appreciate you coming in. I appreciate you showing up and watching. If you're here for 5 minutes, if you're here for 35 minutes, I don't care. Just the fact that you're showing up helps me mentally, okay? And then also, the one of the biggest things, other than obviously liking and subscribing and all that good YouTube bullshit, okay, is making a comment in the comment section below. If you liked the show, if you didn't like the show, if you agreed with it, if you didn't agree with it, whatever, if you thought I missed a point, or you want to, if there's a future show that you want to listen to, okay. I will be doing a podcast. I started a podcast, and I'll give the link for that at some point. That will be next Sunday, and that is with one of the members in the chat right now. And we were going to be talking about some issues surrounding their community, and that will be after next week's show. So, and if there's anybody who wants to come on the show, and we can talk about different issues. If you're disabled, if you're, I would prefer, it doesn't have to be, but I would prefer you be from some form of marginalized community, okay? Isaiah has graciously agreed to appear on my podcast. And I may even invite him on here. We'll just make it if he wants to show up next week or whatever, we'll just make it a double Isaiah day. I don't care. He's a really cool guy too. I like Isaiah a lot. So let me find my OBS. I always call it that, my OBS. Organic bullshit. Or whatever. Okay. So, like I said, get this here. I want to thank everybody for showing up. I appreciate it. You are the reason I do what I do. I want to help people. I want to educate people, and I'm retired. I could just sit here and do not a goddamn thing, okay? But and vegetate. But I don't want to do that. People